A few days ago, I released a new publication on Patreon, the Eve Cruiser Yearbook 2026. So in November 25, I ran a poll on what should we do next, and the majority of people voted for pivoting into cruisers, starting with Tech 1 cruisers first. And this is the first result of this work. In this video, I will just briefly talk you through the content and features of this yearbook. It is significantly smaller for now than the Frigate yearbook. This is essentially foundation for something that can become a regular release similar to a Frigate yearbook. So we may have Frigate yearbook during autumn and Cruiser yearbook during spring, but we will see. So the content follows the same structure as the Frigate yearbook. There is not much theory, so we go straight to a metagame overview. And overall 1v1 PvP in cruisers is simpler than 1v1 PvP in frigates, destroyers. You only have, in terms of archetypes, brawlers and kiters, nothing else. But there are a couple of complications, obviously. For example, you may have a cruiser that excels at killing our cruisers, or you can have a cruiser that excels at killing small stuff, so-called anti-frigate cruisers. And in the end, we end up with this 2x2 matrix. So we split all cruisers into 4 archetypes: brawling anti-frigate, brawling anti-cruiser, kiting anti-frigate, kiting anti-cruiser. There are a couple of limitations on the data and interpretation, which you can read on the right. You can pause the video, or you can download the publication and read it in your own time. I will not go over all of this stuff here. So the data structure is the same as in the Frigate yearbook. In terms of PvP volume, the picture is quite similar. We have a big spike after the rebalance of faction warfare, redesign of faction warfare in 2022, and after that it has been pretty stable. And similarly, in terms of structure, just like in frigates and destroyers, now navy cruisers kind of dominate the 1v1 PvP structure. Just to be clear, this data is strictly for 1v1, strictly for faction warfare, and strictly for fights between cruisers. So it's 1v1s between cruisers. This is one of the big limitations of this analysis, since a big portion of your engagement profile is fighting against several smaller ships potentially. But this is impossible to capture properly from Z-kill. So this only captures fights against cruisers. And one of the obvious consequences is that anti-frigate cruisers will look really bad. So as you can see in the engagement map, Caracal and Omen Navy are one of the worst performing cruisers here, but this is because they are anti-frigate cruisers and not anti-cruiser cruisers. So this is why they look relatively bad. And another limitation to know is that the sample size is really small. So I would be quite cautious about interpreting the pirate engagement map, for example, because 500 engagements is just not enough to make any conclusions at all. Besides, remember that we had a couple of rebalances for Navy cruisers. Executor Navy, for example, was nerfed 2 or 3 times. And again, it's impossible to capture because there is not enough data. If I limit the database to the period after the nerf, when I will just not get enough sample size to calculate win rates. So there are a bunch of limitations, but overall, if you keep them in mind, I feel like this is good enough to be put in this yearbook. For example, I feel like indeed Navy Vexor, I would call it the strongest Navy cruiser for 1v1, certainly. Or Rapture, I would also call it one of the strongest ships for 1v1s as well. Okay, so when you have ship profiles, these follow the same structure as in the Frigate Yearbook. There are no video reviews for now. I may add them later. And the performance map looks slightly different. So here, the engagement map is not aggregated by ship class, but it's just for Tech 1 cruisers. Now, the reason why it's like this is because it's really quite pointless to compare Tech 1 cruisers against Navy cruisers, or pirate cruisers for that matter, because the difference in performance is just too large. When you undock a Tech 1 cruiser, you're essentially locked into fighting other Tech 1 cruisers or fighting a bunch of smaller stuff. And similarly, it's pointless to put win rates against smaller stuff because it would imply 1v1, but of course you're not gonna fight a single incursus in an arbitrator. Most likely, if you get this engagement, there will be something else. So the only sensible thing is to look at win rates against the same class. So for Tech 1 cruisers, it will be win rates against our Tech 1 cruisers. For Navy cruisers, it will be win rates against our Navy cruisers, and so on. And the rest is quite similar. And the final thing is the rebalance history. I decided to limit it to the last 5 years, essentially, 5.5. Not that many rebalances for Tech 1 cruisers at least. We will have a bit more for Navy cruisers, but again, it looks pretty similar. And as usual, if you want some explanations on ship tires, profile scores, the infographics, what you see here on the left, or abbreviations, they are all at the bottom of the document. And this is pretty much it. So this was 22 pages, I think. Yeah, 22 pages. Much shorter than the Frigate Yearbook. Over time, I may add Navy cruisers and pirate cruisers. I may add video reviews, but as with Frigate Yearbook, one step at a time. Now, I would really appreciate feedback on this, since this stuff is quite new. The Frigate Yearbook was polished for the last 12 years or so, so it's quite well made, but this stuff is new. So let me know if you have any comments, suggestions, and so on, either in YouTube comments or in Patreon. Okay, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next videos.